This is not just another spike in oil prices. This is the kind of moment that quietly shakes the entire world. Brent Crude has surged past $110 per barrel, and behind that number lies something far more serious than just charts and markets. There's tension, fear, and a growing sense that something bigger is unfolding. Because this time, it's not just about oil, it's about control. At the center of it all is a narrow strip of water most people have never seen in real life, yet it affects nearly every life on this planet, the Strait of Hormuz. A place so small on the map, yet so powerful that if it stops, the world feels it almost instantly. And right now, that lifeline is under threat. Over the last couple of days, everything escalated fast. Attacks targeted Iran's energy infrastructure, hitting major facilities that are crucial not just for Iran, but for global supply. The response was immediate, sharp, and filled with warning. Iran made it clear energy installations across the region could now become targets. You can almost feel the tension building in the air, like a storm that hasn't fully broken yet, but everyone knows it's coming. Markets didn't wait. They reacted within hours. Prices jumped, traders panicked, and shipping companies started rethinking their routes. But beneath all of this, there's a deeper fear, not just of rising prices, but of disappearing supply. Because when supply becomes uncertain, everything changes. Now imagine this. Massive oil tankers, each carrying millions of barrels, slowly moving through a narrow sea passage. Suddenly, that passage is no longer safe. Reports begin to emerge, ships turning back, routes being abandoned, captains hesitating. More than 100 vessels are either stuck, delayed, or avoiding the strait altogether. That's not just disruption, that's paralysis. And in a world that runs on energy, paralysis spreads fast. There are whispers of attacks on commercial ships, warnings about naval mines, and increasing military presence. Every new development adds another layer of fear, and fear in global markets spreads faster than anything else. If the Strait of Hormuz shuts down completely, even for a short time, the shock would be immediate and brutal. Nearly 1/5 of the world's oil supply flows through that narrow route. Imagine turning off 20% of the world's energy overnight. Factories slow down, flights get expensive, transport costs rise, food prices follow. It's a chain reaction, and once it starts, it's very hard to stop. Analysts are already calling this one of the most dangerous supply disruptions ever seen, not just because of what has happened, but because of what could happen next. More than 10 million barrels per day are now under threat. That's not a small dent, that's a massive chunk of global supply. And it's not just oil. Gas exports are also being affected. Some production has already paused, and that sends another wave of shock through energy markets. So when oil hits $110, it's not just a number, it's a signal. A signal that the world is entering uncertain territory. And the reason prices move so fast is actually very simple, even if the situation is not. Markets react to fear. When there's war, tension, and uncertainty, prices don't wait for facts. They move on expectations. Right now, there are three fears driving everything. The first is pure geopolitical tension. The moment conflict enters an oil-producing region, prices rise. It's almost automatic. The second is real disruption. Supply routes are being affected. Ships are slowing down or stopping. That means less oil reaching global markets. And the third, the most dangerous, is the fear of complete closure. Because if the Strait of Hormuz is fully blocked, even temporarily, oil prices could surge far beyond $110. Some estimates suggest $150 or even higher. And that's where things stop being just expensive and start becoming dangerous. Because high energy prices don't stay in the energy sector. They spread. They reach factories, transportation, airlines, food supply chains, and eventually they reach ordinary people. You feel it when you fill your tank. You feel it when grocery prices go up. You feel it when everything suddenly becomes just a little more expensive than before. And at the same time, stock markets begin to shake. Investors become cautious. Uncertainty grows. It's like watching confidence slowly drain out of the system. But beyond the economics, there's another layer to this story, the military one. This isn't just about supply and demand. This is about power, strategy, and control. Strikes, counterstrikes, warnings, and positioning, all happening in a region that holds the key to global energy. The presence of military forces is increasing, the language is becoming sharper, and every move carries risk. Because once energy infrastructure becomes part of the battlefield, the stakes rise dramatically. And for countries like Pakistan, this isn't something distant or abstract. It hits close to home. Pakistan depends heavily on imported energy. When global oil prices rise, the pressure builds quickly. Fuel becomes expensive, inflation rises, economic stress increases. It's not just a headline, it's something that affects daily life. That's why steps are being taken to secure sea routes, to ensure that supply lines remain open, because even a small disruption can create big problems. And now, the world is watching closely, trying to understand what happens next. There are a few possible paths, and each one carries a very different outcome. If tensions ease, if diplomacy finds a way, if the situation cools down, then maybe this spike will settle. Prices might stabilize, markets might calm down. But if the tension continues, if attacks and threats remain, then we enter a period of volatility. Prices will move unpredictably, uncertainty will remain high, and then there's the worst-case scenario, a full closure of the strait. If that happens, even briefly, the impact would be global and immediate. Prices could skyrocket, economies could slow down, and the ripple effects would reach every corner of the world. Right now, we are standing at a very delicate moment. This is not just about oil. This is not just about one region. This is about how fragile the global system really is. For years, the world has depended on a few critical routes, a few key regions, and a delicate balance of power. And now, that balance is being tested. And when systems like this are tested, they either hold or they break. So the next time you hear that oil prices have gone up, don't just think of it as a number on a screen. Think of the ships hesitating in open water. Think of the rising tension between nations. Think of the uncertainty spreading through markets. Because behind every dollar increase, there's a story of risk, fear, and power. And right now, all eyes are on one place, a narrow stretch of water carrying the weight of the global economy, the Strait of Hormuz.